8. Yes. A T4? No. T3? No. T2 and T1? I was like, yeah.
Hyperspace jump.
Mine it too fast to have a problem.
On our way.
Collection confirmed. That'll do it. Thank you. See you next time. Assume combat stations.
Enemy neutralized.
Returning.
Awaiting orders.
Tank at 100%.
We're coming home.
Quietly, relax.
Cells at full capacity. We're heading back.
Resources transferred. Let's go. We got company. Thank you. See you next time. That'll do it. Stand down from combat stations.
Catch you on the inward bounder.
Transfer confirmed.
Equipping a
Thank you. See you next time. Resources transferred. Let's go.
We have incoming.
Bank at 100%.
target to opportunity.
Mission accomplished. Standing by.
We're coming home. Cell's full. We're coming back. Catch you on the inward bounder.
Transfer confirmed.
Prevent this by positioning defense fleets.
Hyperspace jump complete.
One of these plates can be used as a... Transition to...
Hyperspace jump complete.
Destination locked in.
Docking with carrier.
Docking with carrier. Resources locked in.
We got company.
Another quick caveat, this video is only about mining. Not refining. That's a whole nother thing. Sorry. That's a whole nother thing. Damn. Just mining with mining in a group with other players.
That's everything. Seal the ports. Enemy neutralized. Awaiting orders.
Separate your miners into separate groups.
Fang 100%. That's a full load. Let's take it back. Assume combat stations.
We're coming home.
Don't forget strength in numbers. Position. Again, position is essential here. All right.
That'll do it. Okay, that's it. Nice work.
Cells at full capacity. We're heading back.
Greetings, Commanders. Wanted to take some time today to talk to you about ore mining. For some of you, this will be a refresher with a few gems of insight. However, I hope this guide can serve to new Commanders as well. Quick caveat, this video is only about mining. It's not about refining. That's just a whole nother can of worms. So let's begin. What is ore and where can I find it? So first of all, Type 0 or Type M ore can only be found in Tier 0 systems. This is mainly Hungarian space, which you can see over here is going to be the blue space. And Tiers 1 through 4 have different grades, so A, B, C, and D. And their tier corresponds with the system tier. We also have T3 and T4 gases. This will be its own content, be its own separate video. And then we have crystals, which we can't mine yet, so we're not going to talk about that too much. But where are these places? Where can I find ore, right? So ore is essential in the manufacturing of pretty much everything that you're going to do, that your fleet is going to do. It manufactures your weapons, your ships. It manufactures parts to manufacture those weapons and ships and modules. What is ore?
We have incoming.
So let's start at the beginning. What is ore? Beginning. What is ore?
Resources transferred. Let's go.
Ore can be found in many systems throughout Nimbus and is essential to every part of manufactured weapons, ships, modules.
The area is secure.
Cells at full capacity. We're heading back.
catch you on the inward bounder.
Here corresponds with system tier. Security. Tier corresponds with system tier. Security. Ayo.
That's a full load. Let's take it back.
T3, T4 gases. This will be its own video. And T4 crystals.
Full load. Returning. Assume combat stations.
Cells full. We're coming back.
Popular mining locations. Okay, so ore can be found in many systems throughout Nimbus and is essential to every part of manufacturing ships, weapons, and modules. T0 type M ore is only found in Hygarian space, which is the blue space over here in the side.
Enemy neutralized. Awaiting orders.
And it's required for every tier. You're always going to need some more and more. Some more and more. T1 through T4.
Thank you. See you next time.
Grades, purity. Where can I find MR? MR or where can I find it? It's available in most systems. I already said that.
Hyperspace jump complete.
Locations by tier. It's like apologies. Apologies.
Hyperspace jump complete.
Green line confirmed.
Resources downrange.
Docking with carrier.
Docking with carrier. Assume combat stations. That'll do it. Good work. Tank at 100%. Transfer confirmed.
We're coming home.
We're coming home. All right, greetings, commanders. I wanted to take some time today. I wanted to take some time with you today. Time with you today to talk about ore mining. For many, I was like, for many of you, this will be a refresher with a few little golden gems of insight. However, I hope this guide can serve to new commanders as well. Quick caveat, this video is only about mining, not about refining. So that's a whole nother can of worms. So let's begin. Let's start at the beginning. What is ore? Ore can be found in many systems throughout Nimbus and is essential to every part of manufacturing. Ships, weapons, and modules. Type 0, Tier 0, Type M ore can be only found in the Hungarian space, and it's required for every tier. You're always going to need some M ore. Some Type M ore. Tiers 1 through 4, A, B, C, and D. Tier 1 through 4 ore is going to have different grades. So we're going to have grade A, B, and C. A, B, and C are the most common, and then D is a little bit more rare, and it's not that necessary. You'll need some D ore, but not a ton of it. The tier corresponds to what system tier that can be found in. So if it's tier 2 ore, it can only be found in tier 2 systems. Tier 3, tier 4, tier 1, all the same. They can only be found in their respective systems. And when we jump to a system, we'll go through, we'll see the asteroid belts, the asteroid icon next to it, and then it'll tell you the purity of that. So that's going to be, you can pretty much find all of the ore type, all the ore grades within a certain asteroid belt, but one ore type, one ore grade is going to be a higher purity. So for example, most will be like, I generally look for B ore, so that's going to be usually 50%. During mining event weekends, it's going to be up to 75%. And that purity is going to essentially mean how much of your yield you'll actually get. There's T3 and T4 gases, and that's a whole thing, so it's going to have its own video. And then we got T4 crystals, which we can't mine yet, so I'm not going to talk about that very much. Where can we find ore? So we kind of already talked about it. Ore is available with any of the systems that have an asteroid icon next to their name in the system map, just like
That's
this
everything.
one.
Seal the port.
Popular mining locations by tier, and I'm sorry, Stratosphere, I'm going to butcher these names. All right, so T0 is Surat. T1, I'm generally in Devadasi, but I've also jump over to Etawana for different types. Merit Can is my T2 system of choice. Others like T3 is always a Tibeta or Tundamiran. Those are the go-to spots for T3 ore mining. And then T4 Makatia. Holy crap, there's like 12 asteroid belts in there. So good luck. T4 mining is difficult, so make sure you group up. As we already talked about the system level and difficulty, but we'll see that the asteroid belts will have the tier indication of what tier type it is, and then it'll also have a number, and that's going to denote how difficult that mining system is. So you'll see in system 9s, you're going to get a bunch of command vessels and like frigates and stuff like this. T1 systems are going to be mostly corvettes and fighter jets and stuff like this. So, when I go to a Type M system, with tier 4 weapons, of course I'm going to go to a high level system to get better loot. But I'm going to stay in low level T4 systems because, I'll get murdered all the time. So now let's kind of talk about our setup. We know where to find ore. We know a little bit about how to get there. But now we need to make sure we're set up and we're going to maximize our yields. So in terms of officers, there's two things that apply here: the physical stat and their perks. So most of our miners are going to have something like RU A or B or C or something like this, and that's going to buff their local yield for mining. So if you put that in a controller or put that in a collector, it's going to buff that
That's a full load.
specific
Let's get
grade
back.
of ore. Whereas an RUY buff is just going to buff all ore types. And you'll see generally that's like going to be 6% base, where the RUA is going to probably be up to like 10% base for most miners. And then there's also the RMY, which is the remote mining yield buff. And this only applies to remote mining controllers and is applied at the return of their mission. So we'll talk about remote mining a little bit later, but just know that that buffs at the end of when they return. So all the collectors and controllers are all rarities are going to determine their yield and their speed. The rarity isn't going to necessarily be determined by their tier isn't going to determine how well they perform. It's going to be the rarity determinants that. So 2x controllers are about the same as a single epic collector, and make sure that you're focusing on yield and speed research in your research tree. It's essential that those get buffed, and I think C mining doesn't get a buff until D, so generally A and B are going to be the things that you want to focus on maximizing your ore up until you get into T4 and you can get those researches. And then let's kind of talk about assignment order. So where do we put officers to maximize their benefit? So we're going to start with the bridge. We're going to focus only on perks because physical stats do not apply on the bridge. So I want to make sure that, like with my bridge, I have a rare B miner with a 15%, and I have two epic 19% B miners. So that's where those guys go. Those are the best miners that I have, and that's where they'll stay. Their physical stats don't matter to me. If I have to get into that kind of choice thing, then I want to make sure that I'm not wasting physical stats on the bridge. So just know that physical is a waste on the bridge. Don't put 300 physicals on the bridge. Put the 150s down there, but with the highest perk stat. Next, we have controllers. We want to same thing here. We want to make sure we put our highest perk on the controller, and then if we're out of perks there, we can apply physical stats here. But with the controller, with the collector, it's just going to be whatever's left. We generally want to choose perks over stats because let's say a 200 physical stat
Hyperspace
officer,
jump
right,
complete.
is only going to produce a 10% general mining yield, whereas they might have a buff that's doing 15% B yield. It makes sense. Put the perk there and not worry about the physical stat. But leveling up some common officers, you can easily get to like low 300s, 400s physical stats in like level 20. So that's a little bit of a balance here, but just make sure we're focusing bridge first, controller, collector. We're going to want to start with all of our stats, or we're going to want to start with all of our perks first, and then stats down at the bottom if we're running out of people. Oof. So that was good. I felt good about that one. 2603.
Hyperspace jump complete.
Move order confirmed.
Acquisition enabled.
Collection confirmed. Resources locked in.
We're coming home.
We got company.
Card, welcome to Type Beta Alpha Beta. Type Beta Beta Beta. Type Beta Beta Beta. Type Beta Beta Beta.
That's all of them. Ready
Awaiting
Type beta
orders.
beta.
Cells at full capacity. We're heading back.
Alright, greetings commanders. I wanted to take some time with you today to talk about ore mining. For some of you, this might be a refresher with a few gems of insight. However, I hope this guide can serve to the new commanders as well. Quick caveat, this video is only about mining, not refining. That's going to be a whole nother can of worms. So let's start at the beginning. What is ore? Ore can be found in many systems throughout Nimbus and is an essential part of every manufacturing process for ships, weapons, and modules. Tier 0 Type M ore can only be found in Hygarian blue space. This is required for every tier, so you're going to need a lot of it all the time. I keep a stash of 2 mil in the storage all the time. T1 through 4 is going to have separate grades, so it's not going to just be one type. We're going to have Type A, B, C, and Type D. So Type D is going to be the lowest purity. It's going to be found in all systems and all belts, and generally speaking, all grades of ore are going to be found in every belt. However, types A or grades A, B, and C are going to have specific purity belts where they're going to have higher return values. So if you need some A ore, you can get it in almost anywhere, but focus on A belts or on A systems to get that. And their tier corresponds with their system tier, so we can only find T2 ore in T2 systems. T4 ore can only be found in T4 systems. T3 gases are going to be its own thing, so we're just going to skip over that. And crystals, we can't mine them or anything yet, so not yet. Where can we find ore? So ore is available in systems with an asteroid icon next to their name in the system map, just like this. Popular locations by tier, and apologies to Stratosphere for absolutely butchering these names, but for T0 we got Surat, T1 Devadasi, Etawana. T2 I like to camp out in JaTan. T3 and we got Tibeta and Tibeta Beta and Tunda Mirin. And then T4 we got Makita, and then a little bit higher level system, but generally easier is going to be that Alessandro system down at the bottom. System type and difficulty. So we talked a little bit about tier. So obviously tier 4 systems are going to be tier 4 difficulties, but they also have their level within it. So like Devadasi and Etawana are both tier 1 systems, but they're level 1 systems as well. So they're really easy to survive. So make sure you're looking at that. If you're having trouble in the mining section, in mining a certain asteroid belt, look at what the system tier is, look at what the system level is, and see if you can find something that's easier. And before we actually get into the mining, we need to do a little bit of setup first. So let's talk a little bit about our officers. So our perks and stats, all officers are going to have perks and stats. So the perks are going to be their pretty much active ability. It's not going to be their active ability, it's going to be their special thing, right? All officers are going to have stats too, and their stats are going to do certain things. So for miners, physical stats are going to buff their yield, their overall yield, not a specific ore yield. Whereas an officer might have this perk stat. I'll just explain. I'll talk about perks and stats. So perks are going to be like this RUA, this RUB, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I'm having trouble here. So perks and stats. Before we get into mining strats, we need to configure our fleet and we need to configure our fleet and bridge.
We've won. We've done it. That'll do it. Thank you. See you next time.
Before we get into mining ore, we need to configure our fleet and our bridge. So officers are going to have
Resources transferred. Let's go. Transfer confirmed.
generally have a higher physical stat, which will increase controller. It's like additionally.
We got company.
Before we get into mining ore, we need to configure our fleet and bridge. Miners, it's like miners will generally have higher starting physical stats, which will increase controller or collector yield when assigned, and additionally, miners will have a passive perk that will apply when assigned. Physical stat, just highlight it. Physical stats, physical stats increase yield at plus 5% per 100 stat.
Hyperspace jump complete.
Twenty-six to 35, 26 to 35, 26, 35.
Hyperspace jump complete.
Before we get started in mining ore, we need to configure is we'll generally have a higher starting physical stat, which will increase, and as well as as a perk that applies. Oh,
On our way.
We have incoming.
New heading set.
Alright, before we get into mining ore, we need to configure our fleet and bridge. Miners generally have higher starting physical stats, which will increase controller and collector yield, as well as passive perks that applies when assigned to a position. Physical stats increase yield at a rate of 5% per 100 stat, while perks will mining perks
Hyperspace jump complete.
Physical stats increase yield at a rate of 5% per 100 stat. Perks. It's like there's a few type of mining perks. There are a few types of mining perks, but the most essential. There are a few types of mining perks, but the most essential for mining, mining perks, but the most essential are resource unit yield, which buffs the local yield for all ore types. Resource unit yield. Oh no! Don't repeat this. Schedule. Delete. Ugh. Resource unit yield, RUY, buffs local yield for all ore types. Resource unit yield type, whatever, it only buffs local yield for a certain type of mining. Type, whatever.
Hyperspace jump complete.
And we got remote mining yield, RMY, buffs remote yields for returning remote. It's applied at the return of these controllers, so FYI there. For collectors, controllers, all rarities, regardless of their tier, have the same yield. That means any tier uncommon will mine less than any tier epic controller. 2x controllers mine as much as a single epic variant collector. So try to use more collectors. Use as many controllers. Did it again? I don't know how I'm gonna do
Move
it.
order confirmed.
Collection confirmed.
Acquisition enabled.
Resources locked in. Enemy neutralized. Resources transferred. Let's go.
Alright, collectors, controllers, all rarities, regardless of their tier, of the same yield, and so like this means
That's everything. Seal the ports. Tank at 100%.
alright, all rarities, regardless of their tier, have the same yield and speed. This means that any tier epic collector will outperform any tier common collector. 2 controllers are worth as much as a single epic variant collector, so use as many controllers as possible. There is a belief that there's
We're coming home. Thank you. See you next time. That's all of them.
it's like there's evidence, like there's more than 4 collectors does not work. There's evidence of a there's evidence of a
Resources transferred. Let's go.
but I have not noticed this, but I have not.
Thank you. See you next time.
It's like there's evidence player drop queue limitation of 4 collectors. However, I've not really noticed this. I was like, sorry, Law.
Full load. Returning.
We have incoming.
Sorry, Lost Wafu. I did some basic experiments for this video and I didn't reach any conclusions yet. So let's talk about the assignment order. We have bridge, controller, and collector. We want to start with all of our highest perks on the bridge. Make sure that we're focusing on perks. Physical stats do not apply on the bridge. So for the controller, we also want to go with high perks. However, if we're out of high perks, physical stats can apply here. However, if I have the choice between a high perk on the controller or the collector, I want to make sure that the physical stat goes to my collector. The highest physical stat goes to the collector, not the controller. So we do want to prioritize physical stats on the collectors, and we want to prioritize perks on the controllers. Yeah, that's it for that. I was like, so now we have our bridge set up. We have all of our collectors and all of our controllers. It's time to go out. But
Catch on the inward bounder.
it's time to go. But before we go, make sure we have a friend. Always group mine when possible. It's just simple mathematics, strength in numbers. Our position is essential in this in mining, so we want to make sure that our it's like always mine in groups when possible. It's just basic strength in numbers kind of thing. More damage, more DPS. Yeah, mine in groups.
That's everything.
If you're a high level, go back and protect lower levels. It's that simple. You're going to need that more all day, every day. Position is essential. Just make sure that our controllers and collectors are going to be targets of opportunity for the enemy. So in the absence of any defenses, enemies are going to aim at miners. To prevent this, we want to position our defensive fleets between enemy jump points and our collectors. And we want to make sure that our miners are within sensor range, within this orange line here. So now let's mine. We've set up our fleet, we've set up groups, we've posted the chat that we're going to go mine in this certain area. Let's jump in the system, look for friendlies, and let's go ahead and set up position. So now that we've gotten into this mining routine, we've got our position set up, our collectors, controllers are doing fine. Let's start to talk about some advanced mining techniques. First of all, don't AFK mine. This is coming from somebody who's lost so many controllers and collectors. So many. At one point, I was operating 2 carriers of collectors. Why? I don't know. I had 2 carriers. Oh. Don't AFK mine. Don't AFK mine. Take it from somebody who's lost so many collectors and controllers. At one point, I had 6 collectors in my carrier, tier 3 carrier. I had 6 backups just in case I lost those, and then I had 6 in storage just in case I lost my backups too. And so I didn't have to actually fab them. Oh, I've lost a lot of collectors and miners. I'm sorry. Another type of mining is repair burst mining, kite mining. What the fuck is kite mining? $23,810.
Hyperspace jump complete.
New heading set.
Prepping for collection.
Acquisition enabled.
Resources locked in. Full load. Returning. That'll assume combat stations. Thank you. See you next time. Stand down from combat stations.
Sorry.
Thank you. See you next time.
We're coming home.
We have been coming.
Resources transferred. Let's go. Transfer confirmed. Okay, that's it.
Cells at full capacity. We're heading back.
Catch you on the inward bounder. That'll do it.
We're coming home. Cells.
We got company.
That's everything. Seal the ports. Enemy neutralized. Awaiting orders.
Cells at full capacity. We're heading back.
Full load. Returning. Resources transferred. Let's go. Catch you on the inward bounder.
Hyperspace jump complete.
Still sounds like a used car. Still sounds like a
Construction complete. Construction complete. Construction complete.
This is accomplished with the mining set. Yeah, blue stags. Take